Just for the benefit of those who are visitors and guests at St. John Newman and were not here last week to find out in the bulletin who this UFO was who landed in your midst. My name is John Kerwin, and I'm a retired priest, believe it or not, not 58, I've been ordained 58, but 18 years ago I retired. And people say, what are you doing, out every single weekend? But now I only do things that are fun. If it's not fun, I'm not interested. And I tell people I live in a small town in Saratoga Springs, New York. Some of you might be aware of our town. We have a famous shrine there, and this is now the beginning of our shrine season. Somebody mentioned track, yeah. Some people refer to the track as a shrine, all right? It's the oldest running race course in the country, and they're a great aid to our taxes, so we welcome them when they come for their 8-week meet these days. So that enough to get you going? You're free to leave now if you don't want to stay for more, all right? Anyhow, our scriptures today are about being chosen. Amos was content to be a shepherd, a dresser of sycamore trees. And I don't know whether I've ever actually seen a sycamore tree in my life, but at any rate, God had other plans for Amos. And Paul reminds us that when we were baptized, we were chosen and sealed with the Spirit. We were given the light of Christ, and charged to go forward and dispel the darkness we encountered on the journey. And poverty is a form of darkness. And that's what we're here, hopefully, for you to help us dispel the darkness in the lives of people that we are seeking sponsorships for. The 12 were sent out in pairs, instructed to travel lightly, to proclaim to all the good news of God's love. Their message was Jesus, plain and simple. Jesus never left anything in writing, and anything that we do today has been made up by human beings. And I think maybe Francis is about to do away with some of those things that have been acquired through the centuries and get back to the basics that Jesus was about. The first words out of Jesus' mouth when he met someone was, "What can I do for you?" Not, "What can you do for me?" but what can I do for you? And I think maybe if we go back to that, we'll be on the right track. And our baptismal light will enable us to go to those places and dispel that darkness. So I come today at the invitation of your good pastor, Father Powell, and we have been in this wonderful parish in the past. Just for out of curiosity's sake, how many of you in the congregation today are already sponsoring with Unbound? Would you raise your hands? Okay, all right, fine, yeah. I think to date we have over 40 sponsors here at St. John Newman. Some background for those of you who are not familiar with us. We were founded 40 years ago in Kansas City by lay Catholics like yourselves. They started with one family in Guatemala. And today, we have impacted the lives of more than 400,000 children and elderly in the developing countries where we have a presence, in Asia, Africa, Central and South America. And we are about establishing partnerships, walking with these folks on a path out of poverty and injustice that currently marks their lives. We offer them a hand up, not a handout, because these are hardworking and hopeful people who look to you to advocate on their behalf. I offer then a way to serve the most vulnerable, and you can relax, we're not taking up a collection. One is enough. But we are looking for partnerships, for sponsorships. People seek to walk on a path out of the darkness that currently defines their lives, and our hand is there to help them to do it. Poverty is an evil, and as Christ's disciples, we are called to right the wrongs we meet along the way. When we sponsor, we say to a child or an elderly person that we believe in them, that we have faith in them. So what happens when you sponsor? Last year at this time, Maria Cristina Toque, a 28-year-old Mayan Indian woman from Guatemala, became the first woman doctor from an Unbound project. Maria Cristina had been sponsored from the time she was 8 years old by a parishioner like yourself. Today, Maria Cristina is unbound, and she is serving her people as a medical doctor, all because a parishioner in a North American parish took her name and walked with her. Our mission flows from Catholic social teachings and is grounded in the gospel call to put the needs of the marginalized and the vulnerable first. We build relationships of mutual respect and support. Sponsorship involves a monthly commitment of $40 for as long as you are able and as long as your sponsored friend adheres to a highly individualized program. We're not a one-size-fits-all. Rather, each program is designed by our project workers in the field with the family that's seeking sponsorship for their child. And the sponsorship of one child redounds to the whole family, because then they can focus on other aspects of their lives and not have to worry about the child or the elderly person who is being sponsored. $40 a month breaks down to about $1.30 a day. And you know as well as I do that $1.30 is not going to buy you much in our North American economy. Usually when I go into a place like Lancaster, I'll check out the local Dunkin' Donuts for my morning breakfast, and I get a senior discount, obviously. So getting a senior coffee and a plain donut, I'm going to shell out $3.92. $1.30 a day is not going far in our economy, but it will make the world of difference in the life of your sponsored friend. We ask also that you would remember them in your prayers, that you would email them a few times a year, exchange pictures, develop a real relationship so that they have an awareness of you and you have an awareness of them. And you might even also consider our mission awareness trips. It's not high-end travel by any shakes of the imagination, but you get to see the reality of what they're living with and what they have to contend with. Your financial commitment assures that basic food, school supplies, medical and dental care, clothing, and special family needs are there for your friend. I have to tell you, for the past 12 years that I've been involved with Unbound, I have met some of the most wonderful people, both in the parishes in this country that I have visited and in the countries that I have visited where we have sponsored people. I've seen partnerships established with amazing results. Some of our women in Kenya and Uganda have developed cottage industries like basket weaving and poultry farming. I have a beautiful hand-woven basket at home that they presented to me when we were visiting in Kenya. At the same time, we went out to a bush area, and we went to a meeting where a group of women who have developed a poultry industry were having a business meeting. At the end of the meeting, one of the members of the group came up to me with a chicken and wanted me to take her chicken home to the United States. And I said, I'm not sure whether the plane is going to allow me to take your chicken with me. Her heart was there, but I was not able to accept her gift. And that's the most important thing, is that her heart was in that place. A group of our women in Central America have formed a sewing and a weaving co-op, and this is just a small example of the beautiful work that they do. A group of our men in Salvador have formed a masonry co-op. They are making roofing tiles and building blocks, and are thereby providing better housing for themselves and their neighbors. All of these types of programs have been made possible because parishioners like yourselves here at St. John Newman have come forward and have sponsored our children and elderly. 92% of every dollar spent goes directly to program services for your sponsored person. And as a result of that, we receive the highest ratings from charity watchdog organizations. We never share your name or address with any other organization, and we maintain the strictest standards of privacy. I have out in the foyer, I think now I'm down to about 35 folders. Each one of these folders represents an individual person waiting to be sponsored. And some of them, because of the pandemic, have been waiting for more than 2 years. Just an example of one of them, Jimena is a 6-year-old girl from Guatemala. And Jimena's living situation is this. She, fortunately, comes from a 2-parent family. That's not always the case. And I had one a couple of months ago, and it wasn't the father who had abandoned the family, but it was the mother. But Jimena is not in that situation. Her mother is a housewife and does sewing to contribute to the house's economy. Her father, Sergio, is a day laborer. 4 individuals reside in the house with features, which features tin walls, a tin roof, and a concrete floor. Electricity is available, but don't be fooled by that. It means that there's a single light bulb hanging down in the main room of that facility. Jimena has a mattress bed and access to drinking water at home. Again, that's another luxury. When I was in Kenya, I saw any number of children about this high going to a community water supply with a jerry can that was almost as big as they were. And it wasn't once a day, it was 2 or 3 times a day. They rely on a firewood stove for cooking, and the house has sheet metal walls, and the family desires a new dwelling. Jimena's grandmother is also a resident of the household. So by Jimena being sponsored, a number of people are going to benefit from that sponsorship, and their way of life is going to change. Who knows what her dream might be someday, because someone here at St. John Newman sponsored her and put her in a position to do great things, as Maria Cristina is currently doing. Again, I want to thank Father Powell for his kind invitation for us to come back to St. John Newman, and I want to thank all of you for your kind attention to this beggar from Unbound.